Hey guys, welcome to BF Fiber Arts by Tamsin. I'm Tamsin and I'm also hot and sweaty. So I figured since I'm already gross, let's wash some fleece. So what I have in the bin here is some of Dill's fleece. I keep knocking my water over. Hold on, I'm gonna take a drink and then we'll get on it. Woo! I forgot, I got a soda thingy there, soda stream, carbonated. Alright, now don't fall over. So, what I have here is some of Dill's fleece that I packaged up into these little tool packets. Just sitting watching TV, I would just pull locks, stitch them in by hand, just with a running stitch to kind of hold them together. And then I brought it out here on my drying rack, intending to put it in to soak and film the video. At which point, life got busy for a few weeks. I was traveling and doing other things, and then some of my family caught the coronavirus. Everybody's fine. Nobody got seriously ill, just like a really bad cold, basically, with some fevers, but they're all recovering well. But long story short, I didn't get back to the fleece. So it did get rained on a little bit, which is why you're getting this orange stain coming down the fleece. So today, I just threw it in this bin of water, and it's been soaking for a little bit because I wanted to try something. So, here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna move this aside for a moment. And I was working on the catio yesterday and I hurt my back, so this is kind of how I'm maneuvering myself so I can actually work. Alright, now, nothing has been done to this. It hasn't been soaped or anything. I just strictly soaked it in water, cold water. And then I have my hose here, and I'm going to try blasting the tips. Alright, so because there's no soap in here, there's no heat, the only agitation is coming from the running water. I'm hoping that this won't felt, and it shouldn't, because it's also inside this wrap to keep it from moving around too much, so it's only the water on it that might damage it. Now you can see how clean those tips come though, with just blasting it with water. So I'm going to try the other side now. So there we go. That is so clean compared to how it started. You can see the difference. Now, if this works without felting it, which I won't know till after I've scoured and dried it, 100% I won't know, but it is looking good. If this works, I don't want to be sitting there putting everything into little tool bundles. I'll either use some lingerie bags and just kind of stitch between the rows and fill a whole bag to do it, or I'll just put it between a couple of these trays and just kind of pin it in place while I spray the tips, because these tips are just, you've seen them, they're ridiculously dirty, and regular scouring isn't going to move it at all. I have 9 pounds of this fleece, so I want to find a quicker way of doing this. If I just have a few locks with the dirty tips, You can also just go in and kind of give them a little bit of a zhuzh, kind of pinch between your fingers, and that will oftentimes loosen up that dirt enough that'll come out in a regular scour. And most of the fleeces I've dealt with, this has been enough, and it won't felt it. As long as you keep it under the water when you're manipulating the locks, even if there's soap in there, as long as you keep it under the water, just kind of pinch it, scuff it up a bit, but don't like rub. You want to kind of go with the direction of the lock and kind of tap pinch it in really bad spots. For most fleeces, that's enough to clean up those tips. See, even on this one, it worked not too bad, but it's going to take such a long time on these tips, and I really want to find a faster way to do it. So hence my exploration of ulterior methods. So what I'm going to do is I will put you on time lapse. I'm going to blast the snot out of these locks. Then I will throw them up to dry, and we will check in later and see if we have any felting happening. All right, it's all rinsed up, and I gotta say, I'm actually pretty pleased with the results. That took out a lot of that debris, and I think a good scouring is going to take care of a lot more of it. I think the tips are always going to be discolored because there was so much buildup there, but you can see how much cleaner the locks are, and it didn't take that long. So I think what I'm going to do is take some lingerie bags and literally like put a row of locks, then stitch it just with a quick running stitch just to hold them in place. Do another row, running stitch, work my way up that way so I can do a large amount in a short amount of time and give them all a good soaking and a blast with the hose, because I don't think these are felted. I should probably wait until these dry to determine 100%. So I will give them a good squeezing to get that water out, let them dry, and we will check in with them hopefully in a day, unless they are calling for severe thunderstorms in the area. So it may take more than a day to get them to dry. So I will come back. I'm just literally squeezing them out. I'm not twisting, just a squeeze. So yeah, I'll let them dry. This is just a two-handed squeeze. You can see I'm not twisting when I do that. I will twist the fiber and then straight squeeze. Don't do this. Don't wring it. People are often think I'm wringing it because of the way I grip the fiber, but you can see I'm not actually twisting it. I'm just squeezing with both hands. Then I turn it. No wringing involved. All right, so I'll put that out to dry, and when it's dry we'll assess it for felting, and if it's still looking good, then we're going to prep large amounts of fiber and do the same thing, because that's actually the quickest method I've found so far to get the worst of that debris out. So I will check back in later. It'll be a couple days for me, but just a little bit for you. Okay, see you then. Okay, so here are the locks that we blasted with the water hose. to get those dirty tips off. Now, I left this outside to dry. It dried. I didn't bring it in. It rained. It got wet again. I brought it in and left it to dry. I always have so many projects on the go, I forget about things. Oh, I was dyeing without gloves. I'm not dyeing, I promise you. That's just some green dye because I don't wear my gloves. But you remember how dirty the tips were. So the question becomes, did that cause it to felt? So now this has not been scoured. This has just been blasted with the cold water hose. And I'm going to clip it open and we're going to see how it is. Okay, this one's still a bit damp, but there is no felting on the butt ends. You can see it's just very easily opening up. Now the tips are really where we concentrated. So let's see. No, they're stuck together because of the dirt that was on them and they're discolored by the dirt. But look, that is not felted. So here's some more. This stuff is a lot drier. Now it is very sticky because the lanolin is still in it, but you can see there is no felting in the tips. It did no harm to them whatsoever. Let's check the butts. There is no felting there. You can see how it's just pulling open. I mean, it's, like I said, it's sticky because the lanolin's still in it. But otherwise, it's just opening right up. So blasting it, soaking it in cold water, and then blasting it with a garden hose did not harm it in any way. That is completely not felted. I don't want to have to do packets of it all because that'll take a long time. A long time. So my thinking, I know, I'm thinking, oh, dangerous. If I take my mesh baskets and I lay out the fleece in the mesh baskets and then weight down the ends of the locks with some bricks before I spray them to kind of hold them in place, that should work. But I don't know for sure. I'm going to scour up some of this and I'm going to dye it because those tips are discolored, although I think now the discoloration is a little more manageable and it'd probably just give an overall cream cast to the yarn. But I'm going to do that. And then when it's dry, we'll have a final look. All right, so here are the Dill locks that I blasted with the hose. Now I scoured them in some Unicorn Power Scour, but the problem was when I went to add a little dollop, I added a whole pile of it, and I was only scouring in like a 4-cup measuring cup. So there's still a lot of soap in here despite my rinsing, and I may have felted it trying to get it to sink into the rinse water because there was so much soap in there it did not want to sink. But I was pretty sure that the tips were going to come out stained. They're actually a lot better than I thought they would be, but they're definitely stained. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to dye this. Oh, hold on, you're getting all fogged up. There we go. I'm going to dye this. So I have some citric acid water here that I've heated up, and I've got some colors. I've got purple, green, and some red to use up, and I have an extra skein of yarn to dye. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to plop this like this, and I'm going to plop this over here. I'm just going to push these down. Right, and I'm going to grab my skein of yarn. Now this has been pre-soaked in citric acid water, so it should gobble up some dye pretty quick. So I brought this water to a boil and then I just turned off the heat. So it's just below the boiling point. It's plenty hot. There's lots of citric acid. So let's start with some red. I'll just pour that over here. And then I'm going to put some purple over here. Now these are 1% dye stock solution, so there's a ton of dye in there. And then we're going to put some green here. And then we're going to push it down into the dye. Oof, that's a lot of purple. I think I'll probably just end up with like a mottled effect, which was kind of what I was going for, but maybe not blended quite that much. Oh well. All right, it's been sitting for a while. There's still a fair bit of dye in there. It is starting to get a little, like you can see a little bit of the metal through the dye. Now I could just wait and let the dye bath cool further and see if it absorbs more dye, but I'm not that patient. So I have some of Shmee, my favorite gray Gotland U, and I am going to stick that over here in the pot. There's still enough citric acid to help this absorb, I'm pretty sure. Wow, that's soaking it up really fast. And it's giving Shmee this nice lavender tint. Kind of cool. Okay, so that quickly the dye bath is exhausting, but now I want to add more color to Shmee. See, this is my problem, is then I start using dye soppers and I'm like, oh no, but I want more color on that, so I add more color and then I need to add more dye soppers and then they're not enough, so I need to add more color. You see, it's a process. But I am going to fish out my dill locks. Oops. Boy, I made a mess there, didn't I? Okay. Grab some tongs. Woo, that's warm. All right, let's see. We do have some white spots, so I'm going to bring those up to the top. And let's check on this. We got some white spots there too. So I think what I'm going to do, we have lots of purples and reds. So let's add some green. Oop, I don't want to get that on there. Okay. We'll add some green. And since I've diluted my heated water with so much dye and wool and everything, I'm just going to put the heat on for a bit again. And we'll let that sit and see how it goes. I can't stop futzing with it. Oh my goodness, I'm horrible. Okay, so that green is absorbing pretty good. I'm going to end up with just a big old blob of brown if I don't knock it off. I am so ridiculous. I just can't stop poking at things. Okay, now I'm going to leave it alone. I'm going to let this cook for a little bit and I will be back to show you the results. All right, so true confession, I added a little more purple too. So there is a little bit of dye left in there, but I'm not worried about it. We're going to take this and rinse it up and we'll see what we have. Back in a bit. All right, so there was like the teeniest hint of purple in the rinse water, but nothing serious. So I'll just spread all these out to dry. And I am absolutely loving how the colors turned out. I threw in my little knit sample of Shmee too, so it's got some little splotchy colors on it. I mean, I figured why not? So that's Shmee. I'm going to go get the next one. All right, here we have Dill in the little packets. It's got some interesting tonal variations in there. And I think we can finally take this out of the packets. Now, because I had everything crammed in the pot and I didn't really like lift the fleece to put color underneath and all that fun stuff, we are going to have some white spots. Oh gosh, this is so soft. I think I might have felted it a little bit though. Let's see. Oh, no, it's pulling apart easily. So I think it's all right. And you can see where the color didn't get in and the tips are still brown. They're just stained from that dirt. But that's all right, because I can just blend it in and you'll never see it. Yeah, we didn't get full penetration because it was in there pretty thick. This one did. Oh, no, there's a spot. Anyways, that's Dill. And now I'll just go get the skein and I'll show you that. All right, here is our skein of yarn. It's not everybody's taste, but I'm kind of in love with it. You can see where the red took, and the purple, and the green. I don't know, it talks to my heart. There are a few little white spots because I wasn't, like I said, I just kind of lumped it all in the pot. And I fully expected to get white spots and variations. Dill is so soft. So I'm going to let it dry up and we will comb some of Dill and see if the spraying it with cold water is the way to go. I'm thinking so far, yeah, but we'll get there. Our Dill fleece is dry enough to comb. It's still a little damp, but that helps with static, so I don't mind combing if it's a little damp. So this is the plain white that I just scoured and rinsed. But look how just blasting those tips made it so much easier to clean. Like, it's crazy. So I'm just going to comb a bit of this up, and I'm going to do it over the table so we can see how much debris falls out of this fleece. So let me just switch things around and be right back. All right, there's our table, more or less clean. I want to do this. I really want to do this because I want to see how it's going to blend out with those bits that are not dyed. So pull off a bit. I think I need to tip you up a little bit so you can see what's happening. All right. So I'm going to load up my combs. Now, because it is damp, I am going to make sure I break it up into smaller chunks. My gosh, this is such a gorgeous fleece. Other than the problems with the dirty tips, which is why I'm addressing it, because the fleece itself is amazing. So there's a little bit of felting or cotting right there at the cut ends. I'm just loosening that up. And I'm trying to keep them all aligned, tips and butts. Now, the other thing I do when I'm working with a damp fleece is I don't put near as much on the combs as I normally would. So I'm going to start with just that much. All right. Let's see how much debris comes out of this. I'm going to be very careful to just grab the tips. And give it a good flick to get that fiber back so it doesn't bend over itself. Ooh, took too big a bite there. I shouldn't have to work that hard. I love the streaky colors in this. It looks so cool. I don't know what it's going to look like when I'm done combing it, but for the moment, it looks pretty darn cool. Yes, I know. Don't comb towards yourself. But since I'm not pulling this way, I'm not as worried about it. I just go through it and then I'm pulling this way. So I'm not actually pulling towards myself. That's just the way I do it. I know it's wrong. I know it's dangerous. I know, but I'm still not going to listen. Don't tell me what to do. So there's the leftovers from our first pass. Now let's have a look for dirt. All right, well, let's see if we can see it. Well, you can kind of see it on my hand. So that little teeny bit of debris is all that came out. All right, let's go back the other way. Remember, just push up on the backs to loosen that up. And then we're going to go back onto our other comb. Starting to blend now, but it's still keeping some of that streaky hues to it, which is really pretty. Now, of course, the disadvantage to my method of dyeing is I can't really repeat this colorway. I could sort of get close, but I mean, for what I do, sort of close is probably good enough. Close enough. All right, there's our second pass. Now, if it's a damp fleece, you are going to get a little bit more combing waste because the fiber is damp. But that's not waste. We can comb it again. We can use it for all sorts of things. So it's not technically waste. It's probably still just a little bit too damp to be combing, but I'm impatient. I can't wait for anything. So I'm just going to ease this off. I'm trying to keep my pull really steady so I don't yank the fibers apart because I'm not using a diz at the moment. Okay, so there we go. Some lovely fluffy dill with the blasted tips. So there's the dyed. Look at the beautiful streaky purple hues in there. Oh, came out so pretty. Can't wait to get into the green stuff too. So there is undyed dill. And you can see that blasting the tips did not harm it at all. In fact, it improved the fleece by so much. And I'm going to find a way to do it quicker and do the entire fleece this way because this is so squishy and soft and beautiful. And I want to get that 9 pounds cleaned up so I can use it because it is a gorgeous fleece. So thanks for joining me on this latest adventure, guys. If you like this, do the stuff down below because I do stuff like this all the time. Thanks for joining me, guys. I'll see you next time. Bye.